guys, welcome back to Pro Gun. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate that. Today I want to talk about the 10 most common mistakes people carrying firearms do. And this is not only for people new to carrying firearms, this also applies to some people who've been carrying for a long time. I'm including my top 10. Please feel free to leave your constructive comments that may benefit others, because I'm sure there's many more that could fit this list. Number one on the list is lack of training. I can't stress how important it is to get trained. And I don't mean going to the range with your buddies and picking up their bad mistakes. I mean formal training by a certified pistol instructor. You should learn how to shoot, you should learn firearm safety, and you should learn how to operate your gun before you even go out and buy a gun. And before you buy a firearm and introduce it into your home, you should know how to be safe with it. And more importantly, before you go to the range, so you don't make a dumbass out of yourself. Number two is not having a proper mindset. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with owning a firearm. And there are legal ramifications, moral ramifications. There may be religious or philosophical issues that you may have to deal with. Knowing how to shoot doesn't mentally prepare you for what you would do in an emergency situation. You need to ask yourself, if you were in a defensive situation, would you be able to pull the trigger? Would you be able to kill somebody if you have to? And you need to know that, because if you can't do that, there's no point in even carrying a firearm. Also, thing that's important to note is that we don't shoot to kill. We shoot to neutralize the threat. Now, unfortunately, sometimes that involves killing a person, but that's not the goal. The goal is to neutralize the threat. And I've had a lot of students, when I ask, how many shots do you take? And they say, until my magazine is empty. That's not an answer that you want to have a jury hear. Number three is not understanding your state and local gun laws. You need to know where you can't carry, how you can carry. Can you carry open? Can you carry concealed? What is the reciprocity for other states, so that if you're traveling back and forth between other states, you don't get in trouble? Do you have a castle doctrine law or a stand your ground law regarding use of deadly force? If you get pulled over by the police, do you have a duty to notify law enforcement that you're carrying a firearm? This is critical. There's a lot of people that just go out and they buy a firearm and they carry it, and they walk around and they don't know that if they're near a park in their state, that it's illegal and they could become a criminal. And the state laws vary drastically from state to state. Take Pennsylvania, for instance. You can carry anywhere in Pennsylvania except Philly and Pittsburgh. And if your state has reciprocity with Pennsylvania and you're walking around carrying in Philly or Pittsburgh, you're going to get arrested. Number four is not being aware of your situation. Situational awareness is key. If you're carrying a firearm, you constantly have to observe what's going on around you. You can't just walk around oblivious to everything around you. When I go shopping, for instance, and I'm online, I always keep my arms on my side to make sure that my arm is covering my firearm. You need to assess if you're in a crowded area. If you're walking through a park, obviously you'd carry differently than if you're in a movie theater. But your firearm is a tool, and that tool can only be used if you can get to it. It doesn't help you if somebody comes up from behind and whacks you on the head or you're caught off guard. So making sure you're aware of your surroundings is very important. Next one is not practicing with defense ammo. And I can't tell you how many people go out, buy a firearm, they go buy a box of defense ammo, and they walk around with that for years, not knowing if their gun even likes that ammo. Your life is on the line. That is not the time to find out your gun doesn't like that ammo. You may have to find 2 or 3 different boxes of ammo to find out what your gun likes and doesn't like. My Glocks, for instance, they eat everything. However, my Colt 45, 1911, does not like hollow points too well. Um, I have a Kimber. There's certain hollow points that Kimber doesn't like. So you need to shoot defensive ammo. And if you're carrying a gun with defensive ammo, you should go to the range and shoot that ammo every now and then, because your firearm is going to behave differently with defensive ammo than it is with full metal jacket. So that's just something to keep in mind. Another mistake is not carrying regularly. You got a firearm to protect yourself. You should carry as often as possible. When you don't carry so often, when you put your gun on, it feels like the gun is this big and it's heavy because you're not used to it. And I carry everywhere I go, whether I'm just going to get gas, it doesn't matter. I can carry anywhere I want in my state, and I do that. And I highly recommend you do the same thing, because that's going to lead to the next one. Frequently touching and adjusting your gun. Now, this is something that people new to carrying firearms do, because when they first carry a firearm, it feels awkward. They think everybody's looking at them. They're constantly checking to make sure their gun is there. But all you're doing is drawing attention to yourself. And if you carry frequently, you'll find yourself doing that less often. And if you have the urge to check your firearm or readjust your holster, just try to refrain from doing it, because it just brings unwanted attention. Next one is not wearing proper clothing. Now, depending on the state you live in, the weather changes, you have to dress accordingly, right? If you're trying to conceal a firearm, you need to wear the proper clothing. When I carry inside the waistband, I try to wear pants that are a size big so that it's not as noticeable. And when I carry outside the waistband, I wear a shirt that's one size larger so that you can't see it. And you need to dress accordingly. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. I can't tell you how many times I'm walking around the mall or Lowe's and you see somebody carrying a firearm wearing a shirt 2 sizes too small, and it just looks ridiculous, because everybody knows they're carrying a gun and all they're doing is drawing attention to themselves. The next one is not frequently cleaning and maintaining your firearm. We all know how important it is to have a well-maintained and clean firearm. Every time I go to the range, I clean my gun, whether I shoot 1 round or 100 rounds. If I take 10 guns with me, when I come home, I clean 10 guns, because if I'm in a defensive situation and my life is on the line, I am confident my firearm is not going to fail because my gun is dirty or not well maintained. And not regularly dry fire training. I can't stress this enough. Shooting is a perishable skill. And if you don't practice shooting, those skills do diminish. Just like musicians or athletes, they practice. However, there's people that go out and buy a firearm and they think that it's some magical device and you're going to wave a magic wand and it's going to miraculously defend you in a time of need. That is just not so. And this doesn't only apply to people new to carrying. I know people that went out and bought a gun, strapped it on their hip, put the defensive ammo in, and have never gone shooting. Dry fire training can be done anytime, anywhere. It costs nothing. We can't always get to the range. Sometimes ammo is expensive. You could dry fire train in your own home. It's safe. It's cheap. I've done a lot of reviews on dry fire training systems. I can't stress enough how important it is to maintain your skills, especially muscle memory. I know there's a lot of other things that could have made this list, so please feel free to leave constructive comments. If there's something you think that should be added that help others, I appreciate that. Thanks for watching.